All right, welcome to the Erie Music History Podcast. I'm Chip Shell, your host, and today my guest is Tim Theisen, who most folks will remember from the band Wave back in the 70s. Tim, thanks for being here.
Oh, my pleasure.
I know you and I just met a few months ago, or maybe a month ago at one of our music nights, but we have this weird thing in common that your folks bought the house that I grew up in West Mill Creek.
That's correct, yeah.
But you're from Corey originally, or?
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
Yeah.
How'd that happen? How'd you get here from Wisconsin?
Well, my father was transferred out here when I was 14 going on 15.
Okay.
And so basically I just finished up. I went to high school in Corey, and that was about it.
Okay.
You know, I lived there for 4 years, 5 years,
okay,
something like that. And then I went right to college after that. Well, I went to Gannon.
You went to Gannon?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so everybody talks about Wave as being this band of Theisens. First of all, who all was in the band? Tell me, everybody, what they did in the band. And
well, the core of the band was me and my brother Jeff and my sister Ann.
Okay.
We all, the three of us, sang
right
up front, and then we had a 4-piece rhythm section. Initially, had a 4-piece rhythm section, and later added brass.
Okay.
Added horns. So.
And you added your youngest brother also?
That was later on.
Okay.
Right.
Right.
When the genres kind of shifted from the disco era.
Yeah.
We went more radio rock and things like, songs like that. But
okay.
It was a great era. It was fantastic. Everybody said disco sucks and stuff like that, but it was a lot of fun.
I bet.
Yeah.
So you guys are living in Corey. Were you all musical to begin with? I mean, was there music around the house? How come everybody sang? Everybody played instruments? You're a drummer, right?
I'm a drummer.
Yeah.
And I also play keyboards and a little guitar.
Okay.
But my main instrument is my voice.
Right.
And second instrument, as far as proficiency goes, is drums, and then keyboards. So
you were the drummer in Wave originally, or no?
No, I was never the drummer in Wave.
Okay.
But prior to that, I had been a keyboard player.
Oh, okay. All right.
We go way back to high school.
Yeah.
And that's where it all started, actually. We had a little band in high school called the Rubber Band.
Love it.
Yeah. I still think it's a great name.
It is a great name.
Yeah.
So that's you and who else back in Corey, right?
Well, the Rubber Band was comprised of me, lead singing and drumming at the same time. And then one of my very best friends, Bill Miller, who's a very well-known musician around town, played bass.
Went on to play with the Snowmen.
The Snowmen, right. Correct, amongst others.
Yeah.
We crossed paths off and on through the years in different bands.
Okay.
And
was he a Corey guy too?
He was born and raised in Corey.
Oh, okay.
So he was a Coreyite.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was a Wassonian. So
you two make up the rhythm section. Who else is in the band?
Well, the rhythm section back in high school was me on drums and vocals,
right.
Bill on bass and vocals. And then a friend of ours, Sam Weber, played guitar, and Jim McQuiston was another guitarist we had in Wave.
Okay.
And then keyboards was a gentleman named Dan Dingfelder.
Okay.
Really easy name to remember.
Yeah, yeah. So a 5-piece, you're in high school. What are you playing? The music of the day? Or
music of the day.
Yeah. And where are you playing? Are you playing school dances?
It was the classic after the football game, in the gym type band. But
all right. Did the Rubber Band stick around for a while? Or
No, just during high school.
Okay. All right.
And later on, Bill and I, of course, progressed to different bands through the years, and Sam Weber and Jim McQuiston, the two guitarists, never went on to to do anything else.
Okay.
Jim did. Jim McQuiston. In fact, he presently he plays in a, I believe he still does, in kind of a Celtic band.
Oh, okay. All right. Gotcha.
He was a guitarist. But the others just kind of gravitated towards their, various careers.
Right. And tell me again, from a family perspective, who ranks where in age? Are you the oldest, or how does it work?
I'm the second oldest.
All right. So tell me who's who.
My brother Jeff is the oldest.
Does he just sing, or does he play instruments?
Just sings. Okay. Yeah, he doesn't play any instruments. I'm next, and then my sister Ann.
Okay.
Was next, and then Tom, my brother Tom, eventually, who came on, jumped on board with Wave after like I said, mentioned the genres changed, and he was more rock, so it worked out perfectly, because we gravitated towards that genre at that time.
And everybody's, aside from you, just a singer. Nobody else plays instruments.
My sister Ann took piano lessons.
Okay,
and she never kept up with them past grade school, actually.
Yeah,
I don't think she did anything in high school.
Okay.
But,
so you're the first one that's in a band that's in the family.
Correct.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So you go off to Gannon, and you're in Erie. Are you playing in other bands, or what happens?
Well, what happened was when I started college, I hooked up. Musicians we're like magnets.
Right.
We kind of attract each other somehow or another through the grapevine.
Yeah.
But I hooked up with our original guitarist for Wave, and his name was Mike Dombrowski.
Okay. Yep. Heard the name.
And terrific guitarist, just amazing.
Yeah.
And the way it happened was after I was graduated from college, I was one of those no direction type people,
What'd you graduate with?
I have a degree in English.
Okay. All right. Good.
Yeah. In fact, my degree is my senior orals were actually on 17th century metaphysical poetry.
Oh, sure.
I wanted to ensure that I got a really good job.
Tons of jobs for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you come out of, are you playing while you're at Gannon?
We did. Mike and I tried to get a couple of bands together. We did play for, like fraternity parties and things like that, but nothing that ever developed into anything really big. But
and you graduate from Gannon when?
Do I have to tell you?
Well, I know that. Here's why I ask. I know Wave starts around 75, right?
Correct. 73 was when I was graduated from Gannon.
Okay, so there's 2 years that you're finding your way, using your metaphysical English degree.
Oh yeah.
And
that was my guideline for everything in life, was 17th century metaphysical poetry.
Okay. So where does that lead you musically? Are you playing with a band that plays on a regular basis, or?
Being directionless after college, I had to have money, so I went to started working in a factory down in Corey.
Oh, yeah.
Knowing that I wasn't going to stay there, but it was just a stepping stone to gave me time to think.
Paid the bills. Yeah.
Paid the bills.
Right.
And during that time, everybody knew I sang, so I hooked up with this organist from Union City. His name was Don Watts. I jobbed with him. Jobbing is I played drums and sang, and he would get different sidemen for these for the different gigs that he procured. And
he was the main headliner, or was it Don Watts and friends, or you were just the Don Watts?
I think it was just Don Watts, Tim Theisen, something like that. I really can't remember.
Yeah, right.
But we played around the area. We played out in Warren and various gigs like that.
Yeah.
And we did all standards.
Oh.
My brother Jeff and I had a huge background in the Great American Songbook. You know, we knew all the songs that Sinatra, Tony Bennett, Ella Fitzgerald, on down the line.
And why did you know all that? Was that being played at your house?
Yes,
your folks?
it was.
Okay, yeah. So your folks, were they musical? Or
They were
just-
musical.
Oh, okay.
My mother and father both had tremendous voices, really nice voices. My father was a clarinetist in high school. In fact, he won the Wisconsin State high school state championship in clarinet.
Wow, okay.
So he was good, but then eventually he sold his clarinet to marry my mother.
Oh, okay.
I often wonder if he ever regretted that.
I don't think so.
No, he didn't. No, they had a great marriage.
And were they like singing at church or
Church.
Yeah.
And just around the house.
Oh,
really.
okay.
So we were exposed to different genres of music, and mostly, like I said, the Great American Songbook and standards and things like big band.
So is that the type of stuff you were playing with Don?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So standards, loungy. Okay.
Yeah, loungy type music, swing.
Oh, really? Okay.
Stuff like that.
And did you enjoy that?
Loved it.
Really? Okay.
I still love that music. You know, it's
Yeah.
I love all music. Number one,
Okay. Yeah.
except a certain type of music. I don't even call it music, but I sound like an old codger.
Yeah, right. I gotcha. Yeah, no, I gotcha. Yeah. Yeah.
But
So you guys play around for, what, 2 years?
at least a couple
so?
of years.
Yeah.
What happened was I got this job in
Oh, yeah.
Corey, Jamestown, it was called, in Corey. They made office furniture, desks and chairs and stuff like that.
Okay.
And when I hooked up with Don Watts, found out that, or very quickly discovered I was making more in just the weekend playing music than I was in the factory all week. So it was kind of a no-brainer for me to say, I think I like playing music more than working in Corey, Jamestown. And so I quit. I quit the factory and went full-time, playing with him. And it was just the weekends and made quite decent money. So it was easy to make that decision.
Sure, right.
Change over.
Are you living in Erie at the time, or are you in Corey?
We lived down it was called Bear Creek, just outside of Corey. It's kind of a very rural area, down by Tamarack Swamp.
Okay.
It's pretty rural.
Sounds a
Just
thriving metropolis.
Yes.
Okay.
We actually lived in a hunting camp. So.
Okay.
And during that period of time, while I was playing with him, I contacted, I got the germ of an idea to branch off and do my own thing with another keyboard player, and that was Dan Dingfelder, who was the original keyboard player for the Rubber Band.
Memorable name that he has. Yep. All right.
Yeah, I still haven't figured out what the translation of his name is, but I'm sure it would be very interesting. But
Whatever became of Don Watt?
Don Watts continued, playing. He could actually gig by himself, if he needed to. He didn't sing, but
Did he continue for years on?
I think so.
Yeah. So you and Dingfelder join up and form a duo, or
a duo?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I played piano or keyboards, and he played the organ. So and then I again sang.
Right.
While I was doing that, and same genre of music.
Oh, okay. All right.
And we decided that we were going to, having been born and raised in Wisconsin, I have lots of relatives up there and stuff like that. And Wisconsin is really, northern Wisconsin anyway, is very much a resort, summer home type of area.
Yeah.
And so they had lots of little dinner clubs scattered around, so there's plenty of places to play. So we decided that that's what we were going to do, playing some of these dinner clubs and stuff like that. And,
that's quite a trip to leave, go back to Wisconsin.
Well, it was like going home.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So we did that for a while. It ultimately it didn't pan out.
Oh, okay.
they booked other bands as well,
Sure.
so
Right.
we were struggling a little bit to get gigs, and so we did that for a while, and wound up back in the Corey area.
Okay. All right.
And there's some little dinner clubs around there at the time, and so we just did the same thing there that we did in Wisconsin. And during that period of time, I was contacted by Peak and Peak,
Oh, okay.
the ski area.
Peak and Peak was a good gig back
Peak
then.
and Peak was a real good gig.
Yeah.
And so Dan and I went to the Peak. We played at the main lodge.
Yeah. Yeah.
At the bar in the main lodge, or the lounge, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
We played there for an entire year.
Oh.
So we were kind of the house band.
Right. Right.
And during that period of time, knowing that Jeff had a great voice and Ann, stuff like that, we always harmonized, even when we were young
Just around the
in
house.
Wisconsin, pick out little songs and harmonize to them
Yeah.
and stuff like that. Everybody, oh, your voices are just fantastic, blah, blah. But there were no aspirations at all back in those days when we were younger to really do anything. During the period, the peak and peak period, I started having Jeff and Ann come up to the Peak to sing with me, and we worked out,
Few songs.
half a dozen songs
Okay,
or whatever, and slowly worked them in.
And what are they doing at the time? I mean, are they in school?
Oh, this is
Jeff's
the-
older than you, right? Or
He's older than I am, yeah.
so he has a job, probably.
We're all 4 years apart.
Okay. All right.
Basically,
Right.
the good old Catholic rhythm method,
Got it.
And he actually worked at GE.
Oh, okay. So he had
the
a
time.
real job.
He had a real job.
And Ann.
And Ann had started college.
Oh, okay. All right.
Indiana University of Pennsylvania.
IUP. Gotcha. Right.
And
So they would just come up periodically.
periodically.
Oh, okay. All
yeah, and the response was, tremendous.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was encouraged by that. So I decided that I would like to start a band with them.
Yeah.
Now, something that you couldn't do now because of economics, and bands are not paid well at all
Right.
anymore.
Right. I've heard of that
on the local level.
Yeah.
It's more for the love of
It is.
doing it now
Right.
than it was back then. But so Jeff actually quit GE,
Holy cow.
a real job,
Yeah.
and Ann quit college.
Holy. So I mean, they're putting all their
That's right.
bets on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you said never any aspirations of making it big, but you guys at least wanted to pursue
Right.
singing and playing. So you put together this band with them, and who else at first?
Bill Miller, whom
Bill
I mentioned
Miller.
earlier.
Right.
He was living out in Phoenix
Oh,
and working out there.
so he comes back.
He comes back. He quits his job.
This is a-
Mike Dombrowski, whom I mentioned.
Yeah.
We had gotten to know each other naturally in college. I mentioned we had gotten some fraternity type gigs together. And he was at GE in the engineering program. And he actually quit as well.
Wow.
Now, you couldn't do that anymore.
Yeah.
Nowadays, and we were all in our 20s, and the world was our, whatever you call it,
Sure. Right.
oyster.
Yeah.
And so it was a no-brainer kind of for them to quit their jobs. Nobody likes to work anyway, right?
Right. So where do you put all these people? Where do you start practicing?
When Mike and Bill committed to coming in from Phoenix, and and Mike quitting his job and stuff like that, that was when we made the jump. Finally, decided that we were going to put a band together and do that.
Yeah.
For our livelihood.
Okay.
I don't know if something like that will ever happen again. I doubt it.
I agree. Yeah.
But
It's a big chance. It's a big risk.
right, we started rehearsing at actually at the Peak.
Oh.
They have conference rooms and things there. So we threw a repertoire. We didn't throw it together, but we established a repertoire of songs.
Yeah.
And once we got that repertoire down, we I started looking for place to play, venues.
Did you play at the Peak?
No, strangely enough, we never did.
Okay, so
we went right up to Erie.
Oh, okay. Are you still in the duo? I mean, they're letting you use this room, but
right.
You're
Dan came on board.
Oh, he did. Okay,
with us.
Gotcha.
So we did that. We got the repertoire together. So then I proceeded to go around and solicit jobs at the various venues in town, like Holiday Inn South, Holiday Inn Downtown.
Yep.
And different clubs,
right,
and things like that.
And so we are at the beginning then. So we're right around 75. You've got 7 folks in the band now, I think.
Yes,
that's a big band.
It is, and it got bigger as well.
Okay,
we
added the horns,
and things like that. But
But
it was all very exciting, and we were having a ball.
Yeah. Okay. All right. How often were you playing at first? I mean,
back then we played. Number one, I have to say, there were a lot of pretty good sized bands in Erie,
right?
And we all made a living at it,
yeah.
A decent living,
right?
Another thing that you won't find anymore,
right? Right.
So once we got the repertoire together and I started booking, it just took off.
How long did it take you guys to gel like that? How long did you practice?
About a year.
Oh,
I'd say.
I mean, that's a long time.
Yeah.
So you're still playing at the Peak.
There's a reason they invented peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and they have bologna
mac and cheese, and right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you're living very small and practicing every day.
But back when you're that young, and you don't care.
Yeah, right. Right.
All you want to do is throw something in your mouth for your stomach to chew on.
Right. Right.
And
what was the first gig?
Very first gig I believe was Holiday South.
Okay. All right.
And like I just mentioned, the reaction was tremendous.
I bet. Yeah.
And it was a whirlwind. It just took off from there. At the time, there were 2 other big bands in Erie.
Ruby Port?
Well, Ruby Port wasn't one of them. I mean, Ruby Port was a good-sized band as well, but they were more like the house band at the Calabrese Club. And I'm talking about McMillan and Life, Dave McMillan, and then the Younger Brothers.
Oh, right, yeah.
And all 3 of us, even when we had the horns, the 3-piece horn section, we were able to find plenty of work.
Yeah.
And like I said, to make a living at it.
How about the name? Where'd the name come from?
The name came from, what I did was, we sat around, the 7 of us at the time, just prior to having the horns, and we just started naming names, silly names, just anything. I said,
Rubber Band, man.
Yeah. To this day, I don't think we had that on the list now.
No?
I don't know why.
Missed opportunity. All right.
Yeah, whatever.
So it was a very democratic...
And subsequently, you find out, when you get more into the band thing, you find out that there's other bands named Rubber Band.
Sure, right.
And then eventually we got Wave, and there's other bands called Wave.
Yeah.
Or the New Wave, or the Waves.
Right.
Or, iterations of...
and this was all before actually new wave music. So
we compiled that list, and we must have had around 100 names, something like that. So we narrowed it down, just sitting around, going through the names out loud, verbally. Do you like that one? Nah, that sucks. Excuse me. And narrowed it down to, we picked out 10 that we were considering.
Okay.
And so I had everybody in the band rate each one of those names from, let's say, 1 to 5.
Yeah.
5 being great and 1 being
Yeah, I gotcha.
And we gave them points, each one. So, and very simply, all we did was add up which names got the most points.
Right.
And Wave turned out to be that.
All right.
That name. And the second name, the one that was the runner-up, was actually A Taste of Honey.
Oh, wow.
And there was a band
named
A Taste of Honey.
Yeah.
At the time, which we found out later. But
yeah.
So we chose Wave. and started playing.
All around Erie? Or were you playing outside of Erie?
Mainly Erie.
Okay.
It's amazing, as small as this town is, to reiterate, 3 big bands.
Yeah.
And everybody making a decent living.
Yeah.
We didn't live in cardboard boxes or anything either. And
were you still just doing weekends, or were you playing?
Oh, no. That's another thing that's changed. We played 6 nights a week.
Oh, wow.
We played 6 nights a week.
Okay.
And if we played at the Holiday Inn downtown, it was 6 nights plus a happy hour on Friday.
Oh, 2 performances. Yeah, right.
So it had to be a full-time thing.
Yeah,
because you invest all that time and you're always playing.
Yeah.
So.
And you've said numerous times throughout our conversation, it would never be like this today, or, it was a different world back then. What was a 6 or 7 piece band getting paid back in the early 70s?
You know what, Dan? I can't remember. But
enough that you all didn't have to have regular jobs.
That's what we did for a living.
Yeah, I mean,
we weren't rich.
That's the answer, yeah.
But we were comfortable. And,
yeah, right.
And the most important part, we were having a ball.
You were having fun. Yeah, right.
I wouldn't take 1 minute of the time we spent back then.
I found this short little description in the paper. It's from a 78, so it's a little bit later, and it talks about your band, and it says, it's written by Mary Sue Sable, who wrote a lot of music stuff for the Times, and it says, Wave sees its performance as a flexible, crowd-appealing format. Dombrowski termed it spontaneous diversity. The group relies on no set patterns, unlike most lounge concert acts. Wave molds its sound to fit the mood of the audience. Yet hearing the easygoing style does not hinder the quality of the music. The sound is tight and powerful. I mean, did you guys really mold to the crowd?
We were advocates of, if you're going to do covers, do them exactly the way they're done.
Okay.
On the records. Down to the last detail, even guitar solos, note for note. And so we were very particular when it came to that.
Yeah, yeah.
And it showed.
And as the band evolves, a number of people come in and out too, right?
Your certainly,
band, changes periodically.
That's why I said the Wave, and I don't say this from an ego point of view for the 3 of us, but Wave was the 3 of us.
Yeah.
Basically, visually, when people walked in, they saw the 3 of us. That was Wave.
Right.
We had something like 5 different guitarists through the years.
Okay.
5 drummers, different drummers, keyboard players.
Yeah.
And it's like, but as long as the 3 of us were up there, it was Wave.
Yeah.
So.
And so you guys are up front. I mean, this is a show type of band, right? The 3 of you.
In the beginning, no.
No?
No, we just played.
Okay.
And however, subsequently, we did turn into a show band.
Okay.
We met through Paul Yocklin, who was one of the members of the Younger Brothers.
Yeah.
An agent called Fred. His name was Fred Petty. It was the Petty Agency out of Boston.
Okay.
Who became our booking agent for when we went out on the road.
Oh.
So he got all the gigs for us and stuff like that.
So you pack up the vans and cars and head out on the road. Where did you go?
Well, I think our very first gig was Albany, New York.
Okay.
And we played big clubs. We did shows. We did 2 shows a night in all these places that we played. And Jeff and Ann and I would go out way out on the dance floor, apart from the band, and do these shows.
Huh.
And then we played Pittsburgh, Boston, Atlanta, Georgia, Tampa, Florida. He had us.
Wow, you were really traveling.
Yeah, we were traveling.
So you were on the road for, weeks sometimes.
Oh, yeah. In fact, we never actually got off the road. We didn't play a gig in, say, Atlanta, Georgia, and then come back to Erie.
Yeah, right.
We were traveling around to these various venues and various clubs.
Oh, okay.
They were big clubs. I mean, some of them sat 1,000 people.
Oh, wow.
You know, almost like Rainbow Gardens. They're huge.
Yeah, yeah.
And
you must have met a lot of different other bands on the road. Any up and coming folks that you met that?
and here's the funny thing about back then, you know, playing 5-6 nights a week.
Yeah.
Very seldom got to see any other bands, even locally.
Sure, right.
See other bands playing. And if we did have that rare night off or whatever, or let's say we didn't have something booked and there was a week lag, the last place I wanted to be was in a bar or a club, you know, stuff like that. So we did other things. And
none of you are married, kids, or anything at this point. You're all in your 20s.
No. Yeah, we're all in our 20s.
Okay. Everybody in the band is, even the backup guys and everybody.
I'm sorry. I think Mike was married. Mike
Dombrowski.
Mike Dombrowski, guitarist. Yeah, married to Nancy.
Okay. All right.
Nancy, I can't remember her maiden name, but she was a sweetheart. She was great. And then she actually came on the road with us.
Okay. Yeah. That's why I was asking. That's tough on a family.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you were in the optimal time to be.
Oh, optimal.
Yeah.
Right.
So this goes on for, like I said, I just read something from 1978 about, your band. You guys started in 75. How long did it go? How long were you on the road like that?
On the road, actually a very short time.
Oh.
A couple of years.
Well, that's not a short time. That's a long time. Yeah,
Not
that's
true.
great.
Yeah. But, yeah.
And nobody's like, I made the wrong choice. I should have stayed at GE or at IUP.
Oh, Dan,
everybody's having a blast.
It was so much fun. It was so much fun. We met a lot of interesting people. And
I bet.
Some characters, too.
Yeah.
Real characters.
Any crazy shows that you remember specifically, like when you guys get together, you're like, remember that one show that this happened or that happened? I always ask these types of questions.
The one that really sticks out is we were booked in Tampa at a club called the Buccaneer.
Okay.
Now, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were a relatively new team at the time.
Right.
I guess I have to mention that a lot of these places, and Fred Petty,
the booking agent,
they were connected.
Gotcha.
Gotcha.
Yep.
So there was, like I said, when we met interesting characters, we met interesting characters.
Yeah, connected interesting characters. Gotcha. All right. So you're in.
So the one in Tampa, I got a call from Fred one day from Boston, and he proceeded to tell me that this club manager, I think his name was Tommy. He said, "You're done. You're done at the Buccaneer." He said, "Tommy absconded with all the money and all the liquor inventory and stuff like that."
Oh, geez.
And he spoke with a real thick Boston accent.
Yeah,
Fred did.
yeah.
But
so that was it for the Buccaneer.
Mm-hmm.
Did you get paid or no?
No.
Yeah, great.
No. Nobody got paid.
That is a memorable gig for the wrong reasons.
For the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
And that was the one that kind of, the straw that broke the camel's back as far as this being on the road.
Oh, okay.
Because we couldn't sustain, that was a huge interruption as far as income and...
Yeah. Turned you the wrong way towards it. Did you guys have to travel with, like, soundmen, lightmen, roadies, too?
Yeah, we traveled in a caravan.
Okay.
We had a van for the larger pieces of equipment.
So you have people that are relying on that
sure.
revenue. Yeah, right, right. I gotcha. So
yeah.
So when do you make the decision? Like, we're done with Wave? Is it like 78, 79?
Probably around there. Yeah.
Okay.
79, 80.
Okay.
Whatever. Now, I may have some of these dates mixed up.
Yeah, that's all right. But in general, I mean, the band lasts for...
That was over a half a century ago.
That's right. So the band lasts almost 5 years or so. And then what do you do? You go on
and then after Wave finally dissolved?
Yeah, yeah.
That was about 1983.
Okay, 83. All right.
And one aside.
Yeah.
As far as Fred Petty, and his thick Boston accent.
Is Fred still around? Do we
No,
even know?
he's long dead.
Okay, all right.
No, he's long dead.
All right.
He was probably murdered. No, I'm kidding.
So, what about Fred?
We were. I think it was our drummer, Dave Clemens, was his name, and he was talking to Fred on the phone, getting directions to where we were going to stay in Tampa when we were there. And so I asked him. I said, well, "Where are we staying, Dave?" And he said, "I don't know." He said, "Some motel called the King Asa Inn." He says it must be some kind of sun god or something like that. Well, here it turns out, we find out later that he was saying King Arthur, but he said King Arthur.
Yeah, gotcha.
King Arthur.
Right, right.
So that was an ongoing joke with us for a long time. Staying at the King Arthur Inn.
Yeah. And, we did mention that the band went through a number of personnel changes over the years.
Mm-hmm.
I know Nick Nardo played keys for a little while.
Correct.
Dave Clemens, you said, was on drums for a little bit. Tony Stefanelli played bass for you for a little while. Who are some of the other folks off the top of your head? No,
as far as guitars go, we had Mike was the original wave guitarist.
Right.
And now chronologically, I can't recall what order they were in, but we had two musicians that actually are still playing.
Oh,
I think.
Yeah.
At least one of them still playing. Hank Tom Porowski.
Sure. Yeah. Henry T's
I
playing.
think he plays with, the Blues Beaters.
Right. Plays with BB2 also.
And BB2.
Yep.
BB2 is just
him and
Kevin
Antoine.
Bensink,
Right.
who was by the name Antoine Jack on stage.
And we should point out that you're going to be playing with those guys at the Paul Yachtlin
Yeah,
tribute.
they'll be there. Yeah, BB2, Hank Tomporowski and Kevin are going to be doing their duo.
Yeah, it's on November 19th. Folks can still get tickets to that. Great tribute to Paul Yachlin's life. And it'll be you and some folks. Who else is playing with you that night?
Well, unfortunately, Jeff and Ann aren't doing it.
Right.
For various reasons.
Yep.
So there's only going to be one. If you want to call Wave, the three of us, there's only going to be one of us.
Right.
And that's me. But I have some great singers coming on board. Lindsay Vendetti.
Right.
And another girl called Jessie Lene.
Right. Two of the best. Absolutely.
And a third unknown.
Okay.
And I actually didn't discover her. I always knew she had a great voice, and that's little Tara Yakabuchi, and her married name is Stover.
Okay.
Tremendous voice. And actually, initially, we had Katie Stadler, who's another diva, if you want to attach that title to the three of them.
Yeah, right.
And she had to back out because of prior commitments and things like that. And then all of a sudden, the light bulb went off, and I thought, Tara. Now, Tara never really did anything as far as getting a band together or anything like that. She, however, did win Erie Idol.
Okay, all right.
Singing. And so I called her, and she's on board.
Cool.
Yeah.
And what type of stuff will you guys be playing? The same type of stuff that Wave played back in the day?
Yeah, we tried to call songs that Wade played back in the day. Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Okay.
Some Steely Dan. Chicago.
All right, so to perform those, you got to have a horn section. You got to have some talented. Who are your musicians that you have?
Well, I was fortunate enough to get the brass section from the Groove.
Oh, cool. How about bass? Bill Miller?
Bass, my old buddy Bill.
Cool. All right.
We've been together off and on since high school.
Yeah.
Basically.
Who's playing guitar? Excuse me.
Mike Dombrowski is actually flying out.
Wow.
Or not flying, but he's driving out from Kansas. He lives in Kansas now.
All right.
He's coming on board for guitar. And then we added another guitar, and Jack Campbell.
Oh, nice.
Is also going to play with us. But,
okay. And keys, you playing? Or
no.
Anybody?
Keyboard player's name is Charlie Meyer.
Oh, I know Charlie.
I don't know Charlie real well.
Fantastic.
But I heard he was quite
very good. Played with.
Now all these guys are pros.
Yep.
So they're reading charts.
Yeah.
Which precludes having to get together for a ton of rehearsals because they'll be reading charts and stuff like that. We are going to rehearse everybody together at least twice.
Okay. Well, that should be a fun night. Yeah.
It should be.
And so we jumped around a little bit chronologically. I was jumping forward to something that's going to happen in the future, but we were at the end in the 80s and Wave, and you started to say, you continued to play. I know that you played with Fred Moses, but is that later?
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry, but I
that was like a duo thing again,
That
right?
was the same thing that Don Watson and I did.
It was old standards.
And Dan, I did that as well.
So the standards type of thing.
Correct.
You were keyboards or drums?
Drums.
Drums. Okay.
Yeah, I played drums and sang.
Okay. All right. That's cool. Yeah. So you kind of went back to your roots and doing that, and scaled back from having a giant band on the road. I mean, I'm sure that was.
I'm sitting here quite disconcerted because I can't. Kent Tucker is another one of the horn players.
Oh yeah. Right. Okay.
Kent and Brian Hanna and saxophone is. Oh my God! I don't know why I can't think of. I've been conferring with these guys for.
Oh yeah, for the. Yeah. No.
I'll interject it as soon as my feeble mind resurrects his name.
All right. Yeah. Did we get were there other like bass players or anybody?
There were, besides
drummers?
Tony Stefanelli.
Right.
Actually, Bill and Tony were the only two bass players throughout all of those years.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Bill being the primary, primary bass player as far as the number of years he played with us. But
okay.
And then Tony, he's more of a jazz
for sure, right?
Bassist, but he jumped on board.
Okay.
And it worked out. And excellent bass player. He played a fretless bass.
Yep.
As most jazz players do.
And how about guitar?
Oh, all the guitar players. Hank Tomporowski, whom I mentioned. Steve Borkowski.
Oh.
Bob Tome.
Okay. Yeah.
Another guitarist from Jamestown, New York. His name is Dave Elder.
Okay.
And I apologize to everybody out there because
it's hard to remember back then. I mean, we're talking 40 years.
Right. But there were at least 5 guitarists that we had.
All right.
So
then what happens? You start doing the duo thing after Wave?
No. After Wave, fortunately, I had a friend. I actually had a friend.
Is that the end of that sentence? Yeah. Okay.
He was in the construction business. He was a general contractor, and he and his wife used to come to see Wave all the time. So I got to know him quite well. His name was Art Ball. Unfortunately, he passed away.
Oh, okay.
And I went to work with him, and eventually he left town to go down to Texas. But when he left a legacy in that he taught me some skills, as far as home construction and things like that. And so I started my own business after that.
Oh, okay.
And I had my own business for like 32 years.
Not English. Surprising.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
All right.
I know. I kept trying to. We had poetry readings at lunchtime.
Sure. Yeah.
No. But.
So you start your own business and.
Correct.
In a family, right?
Yes.
Eventually, right?
Yeah. Eventually, I was married, and I say was.
Right.
Now she and I are very close, and we're good friends to this day. And we had 2 children.
Okay.
My son Tim is a dentist, and my daughter Erin is a teacher.
Oh, okay.
Or was, and she just recently quit her teaching job. Apparently, she put her license in escrow or whatever they do.
Yeah.
And she works for my son now.
Oh, okay.
So they're both together.
Are they musical?
Yes,
Yeah.
My son is a guitarist, and he's very good.
Oh, cool.
He writes a lot of songs. He writes a lot of his own things. My daughter sings.
Okay.
But neither. Tim played out briefly a couple of times, but he mainly composes.
Okay.
And he has a repertoire of original songs and stuff like that he works on.
But they didn't get the bug like you that said, "Hey, I'm gonna."
Oh, he'd love to.
I'm gonna go on the road.
He dropped the dentistry thing in a second if he knew that he could just jump
right
from that. But it's quite it'd be quite a jump.
And that's a good point, actually, because in your story, we're in the '80s, and music has changed. Those lounge acts
absolutely.
and all that has changed. You know,
Right.
so you've probably come to now. Obviously, you have a new career that's paying the bills, and you realize, like, I can't just put together another wave. You know,
Correct. Yeah.
But you're also a musician at heart, so you're running your own business, but you've
Still-
got still playing,
Still
something.
playing.
And
Yeah.
just always like duo type of things.
No.
No?
I joined other bands,
You did?
including Rhythm Method.
Oh, right.
Was one of them.
Right.
I was with them briefly, several times.
Okay.
You've probably, I don't know if you did a podcast with Keith Vasheko.
Yeah, we did one on Keith.
God
Keith,
rest
yeah,
his soul.
Absolutely. Right.
And so a couple of times with Rhythm Method off and on. And
Okay.
then I also was in another band called 25 or 6 to 4,
Sure.
which is a Chicago tribute band.
Right.
Tremendous band.
Yeah.
Now, in that was Jack Campbell, as far as guitar goes,
Right.
who will be with us November 19th.
Yeah, yeah. And this was later because I saw you guys probably
Mm-hmm.
back in 2012.
Something like that.
Yeah, tremendous. A Chicago, a bigger band again.
Yeah,
and,
10-piece.
Right. And
We did a lot of Chicago and
yet-
Chicago-oriented.
yeah, right.
I was with them for, I think, 3 years.
Yeah, I was going to say the band was popular for a while, and so the podcast goes up to 1989 to 1990. So during that time, you're working, you're running your business, you've got a family going on, and you're still dipping your toes in the music scene periodically.
Right.
Your brothers and sisters never got back into bands?
No.
Okay.
No, my brother would come up, Jeff would come up, and he'd sit in with different bands, various bands, including Blues Beaters and
Oh, okay. Yeah.
things like that, just for the fun of it. But
Yeah. Right.
he's since totally retired from, performing or singing.
Gotcha.
He's embracing old age.
All right.
Apparently.
That's all right. We all need to do that at some point. Yeah. So,
Right.
well, this was perfect. This was a good coverage of, I think, all the music stuff that you've done over the years, right? And
There's probably more.
There's probably more.
I just can't resurrect.
and the names, we can't always remember all those, so we
Right.
apologize to all those folks out there. But
Right.
when I post this, I'll post it on Facebook, and you can leave comments and say, "Hey, dummy, it was this guy or that guy," or
Right.
So I'm sure people will. But
I apologize to all my brother musicians out there if I didn't mention, their names and stuff like that. Now, keyboards too. We had various keyboard players. Nick Nardo,
right?
who played with Ruby Port,
Right.
and a fellow named Jim Matlock, who also has passed,
Okay.
and Bob Sadowski.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and Chuck Leone.
Chuck
was another
Leone
one.
played too.
Yeah,
Right.
he played
Okay.
keyboards with us.
Right. So there's been quite a few. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, good. Well, then I would say anybody who still wants to hear Tim sing, go to that November 19th Paul Yocklin benefit, and I think there are still tables available for that, and we're actually going to be giving away 2 tickets to that on the podcast. Watch for the posts on that. But for this episode, let's wrap it up. Tim, thanks. This was great.
Okay, super.
All right.
Now there is another thing that I've tried to do through the years is turn other young people on to music, and I gave a few guitar lessons to a young lady named Mia Borgia,
Okay.
who showed great aptitude in playing guitar. I just want to say hi to her.
Okay.
And various others. I tried to inspire them to. They can't pursue it in the manner that we did,
right?
Because of the economic factors and stuff like that. But it's a great thing to have in your life.
Yep,
it really is.
Yeah, I agree.
So.
All right. Well, thanks, Tim. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thanks for listening, and special thanks to the JPT Foundation for sponsoring the podcast and for letting us use their events hall once a month for our free music night featuring the Fabulous Leftovers. They're a band of longtime Erie musicians who play for an hour and then are followed by 2 hours of an open mic. All the proceeds for the event go to the Second Harvest Food Bank. The music nights are held the first Tuesday of the month from 6 to 9 at the Events Hall, which is located on West 38th Street in the plaza right next to Our Lady of Peace Church. If you like the podcast and would like to help me out, because this is not a money-making endeavor for me, you can contribute a few bucks via Venmo or Patreon. Just go to the Erie Music History Podcast website for the links. And finally, for information on what bands and musicians are playing in Erie and the surrounding area, please check out Jack Stevenson's Two-Man Happy Hour podcast and webpage. Jack gives you all the details you need each week on who is playing where. That's Two-Man Happy Hour podcast. So I'm Chip Shell, and I thank you again for listening to the Erie Music History Podcast.